Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Cummings, CEO and founder of Whole Cyber Human Initiative. Today, I am meeting with Stephen Dillard. Stephen Dillard recently graduated, actually not recently, snuck in and graduated over the holidays from the Whole Cyber Human Initiative's immersive program. He's got a lot of different stories and background that I think I really like to bring to light, especially for like the recruiters and hire managers that maybe listen. On top of that, some of the things that he personally has felt as far as gaining new candidates and what to expect if you're going to go down the whole cyber human initiative journey. Stephen Dillard, the floor is yours.
How you doing? As Paul stated, I prior military, many years. I didn't have an IT background. I did the military band. I got out, took advantage of schooling, ended up going into criminal justice. I worked that for many years. On the road deputy, I did probation parole. It got to a point where I was like, I had an opportunity to change careers. That was a major step. I wasn't sure how I was going to go. I knew I love IT. So I took the leap of faith and committed myself to IT. I wasn't sure how I was going to go about it, what was available. Ended up going to a community college, taking cybersecurity. I eventually got accepted to a program the military offered, which was the VRAP program. It's geared towards certifications, but it really taught you a lot of stuff. But it was something I was missing, and got on LinkedIn after looking at different programs, talked to an officer in the whole cybersecurity incentive program, and I like the I like what I heard. End up applying, going through a couple parts. I was given different avenues of approaches of what field I wanted to go into, which was I wasn't sure, but it narrowed down and gave me a little focus on the type of program I wanted to go into. So I've taken advantage, and I have nothing but good things to say about the program itself. It gives you a hands-on approach that I didn't get from the school aspect. It put everything together. The avenues I took, for as the vendors, they all had the advantages of coming from different environments.
Let's stop there real quick, and we'll come back to that one in a minute, right? So one of the first things that that really drew us together personally, before Whole Cyber was even created, was you nailed it, right? You're a band,
Yeah,
right? And you asked me, you're like, what aspects in technology could band translate into? And I was like, when you look at sheet music, when you hear the audio, you're so attuned to it that you're able to pick out those anomalies.
Yeah.
So, if you're talking about first chair, second chair competitions for, maybe you want to go, if you're in the Navy and you're going to go play the Sixth Fleet Band, which is very competitive, you have to hear and like, oh, you're off key.
Right.
When you started going through the training aspect, did any of that start to like click? Like, you know what? I do see that. I do see
Yeah,
that I'm able to really, I know that that's normal and I know that that's anomalous. Was it able to help to really get entrenched into it?
yeah. What brought it home was the attention to detail that really triggered it. Because as a musician, you have to know when the conductor's about to cut off, when they're about to start. Uh, you have to know when to come in. So attention to detail was critical, and that crossed over into the IT portion of it. Because if you type in a code, you incorrectly uh, don't add a space that suppose there's a space supposed to be added. Any little typo error that will not get you to the point you need to get to. It could lead you to a different website you need to get to. But the attention of detail was critical, and I think it was a crossover point that I got from being in the military band to IT. So that hit home uh, for the most part. Attention to detail.
All right. And when we talked about the aspect of, one of the core components of our program is that real soul searching and looking at all the roles that are out there. Looking back at it, I look at some of the roles that you put on there. I mean, you only chose four. We said 3 to 5, which is, four is in there. But looking at them, you got vulnerability threat management, cybersecurity defender, security analyst, and incident responder. It was just funny because you didn't say anything as far as red team or pen tester like most people do, right?
Mhm.
Um, what was your mindset behind those defensive type aspects and the blue team and infosec roles that you chose off of that?
Of course, I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I didn't think about the red team. But as I've done research and, you know, uh, I thought the blue team, the defender, security defender, was much more important to learn first how to defend the infrastructure, uh, how to report a vulnerability uh, was I thought was much more critical uh, before learning about the red team, for as the what it takes to you know get into company's system. Uh, so that really sparked my interest how to defend the home front.
And it's funny too, right? When we talk about, so there's no secret that we use the System Nice framework, right? And we challenge you and give you, roughly 10 days to go through it and read into all the 52 traditional roles that are defined by NICE, right? The National Institute for Cybersecurity Education.
Right.
And one of the things that we challenge folks are, especially job shifters, career pivoters, transitioning service members that have never had a technical background is that rule, what is humanistic of value based on these roles that I've done that have that comfort zone and still have that uncertainty and unknown factor. Um, do you think that, when you actually broke into those and you started looking at like the capability indicators, the tasks and stuff like that, is that what really helped you narrow the four roles down from the 52 that were listed?
Yeah, it was a challenge to narrow down. Uh, but I thought of my background, defender, uh, security. Uh, it helped to, I'll say, hey, this is what I like to do. I like to go out, be the person that uh, protects everybody. So that really hit home. That helped narrow down my focus into what area I want to go into. You have to be honest with yourself and say, of course, yeah, the red team is appealing. Everybody wants to be a pen tester, a hackler, uh, but you have to be honest with yourself and see what you like to do, what you have been doing. That will help you easily transition over into what you like to do. And that's what helped me to pinpoint or narrow down the 52 positions down to 4 positions that I thought I would love to get into.
And then we fast forward into the the different types of training. We use 6 different vendors. And you're talking before I cut you off about the quality of them and about the training styles. Is there a specific one of the mix that you liked, or two, or was it just the combination of everything?
I think it was a combination of everything, uh, because the approach each one has a different environment, learning curve. Uh, so I think that was great because you had to adapt to that type of environment. Uh, if everything was the same, I don't think it would be a challenge there. But having those different learning styles, those different approaches, those vendors, if I had to narrow down to any, I like the security and the
Oh, you bought
security.
security?
Yeah, uh, that was hands-on labs, and I really love that. If I had to narrow it down, that's the one I would narrow down to.
Okay. Yeah, that was definitely, one of the ones that I liked because Evolve Security's really been around for a long time. But then obviously, all the different other Gucci training vendors started coming out, and they're just doing things differently, and in attacking the training ideas at generational type people, right? Um, when you talked about the fact that you got into college, you got into the certification camp. One of the things that really sits home with me knowing you is you started our program before you even got into college, and you were knocking what you probably got what to 80%, I believe, before you started college.
Yeah, I was right there, knocking on, just about completed. Yeah.
Based on that, do you think that going into college and what you got from us just off that 80%, was it impactful? Did it have, would you have wanted to do college then us, or in tandem, us before college all the way?
No, I think it, by doing your program and then getting into college, it gave me a more in-depth knowledge to the approach, the mindset more so than anything else. That okay, you learn this, but how can you apply it to that environment? If you're working in a security operations center, okay, what you've learned is going to be interesting, but the hands-on portion of learning is what you need. So I'm glad I took that approach. If you want to say, should I have done college beforehand? Uh, I'll say dive into it. You know, if you want to put one foot in front of the other, just dive into learning. Just learn. Uh, so that's where I stand for as uh, the learning aspect of your program versus college. I think that's exactly what I needed. It gave me the complete mindset of what I needed going into the college portion of it.
All right. And then And then you mentioned that you got selected for VRE, right? So the voc rehab program or veterans reentry program. Um, you mentioned, before we even got in the conversation today, that it was accelerated, it was fast paced, it was based on certifications. With not ever having a technical background, what would your survivability have been? Granted, I know how smart you are and you would have been able to pass the tests, but without that hands-on exposure before doing the boot camps, do you think where would you think you have failed if you hadn't come through us?
Well, I think it would have been the by going through whole cyberhuman incentive, I was able to forecast what the training would be in my school setting, uh, where so you have students that it was just mind blowing. They had no idea uh, the hands-on portion of labs that you would have to do. Uh, but your program set me up, helped me with the program, the learning aspect of the school. It made it easier. It made things come into play. So it well prepared me for what I was getting into.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. Thank you. Um, and then, going through our stuff and then really fine tuning the roles um, that you wanted to do, did you find it like impactful when you started to say, okay, I got my BRE money. I want to go choose an appropriate school that's going to be based on these four roles. Do you think that was something beneficial, or because we always, whole cyber always talks about the return on investment, right?
Hmm.
Putting your money in the most equitable places possible. Granted, the voc rehab was free, right? Because Uncle Sam was paying for it,
Right.
and you're getting multiple. You got what you said, some AWS. You got some CompTIA. Um, you know, did it help really choose? Hey, these are the ones that I want to take for your program.
Well, what made the decision easy and everything centers around money, and your program did not ask me for one penny, and to have the education, the solid education and information that I've attained from your program is really unprecedented. I mean, you look at boot camps, you look at these programs, the first thing you see at the end of your application is that dollar sign. And you have not asked for anything, and what you have given is more than it really prepares a student with a non-technical background to see what they're getting into. Because it might be where this is not what they want to do, because it does take commitment, drive, determination to apply yourself to IT. You see a lot of jobs opening, you wonder why there's so many openings. Well, it takes a special person to apply themselves into IT, and you have to have that opportunity. Y'all guys gave me an opportunity without worrying about the financial portion to apply myself and really take home to uh, really take that home.
Wow, that's it's really humbling to hear. I mean, there's a lot of great organizations out there doing some great things. I mean, you yourself, you have over a year of being a purveyor of different education styles before even coming to us, and it was it was kind of humbling because in your words, you were saying that the way we approach it is unlike any you've seen in a year. Can you touch base a little bit on that?
Well, I've inquired about different programs, and I didn't like, you know, that going down certain paths. There was promises that was made. Uh, there's no need to mention any names. I'm pretty sure. You see those programs, you see those offering, boot camps, guarantee you jobs at the end of the boot camp. Uh, to be honest with you, I read somewhere, and this really sunk into me. Uh, it takes anywhere from a year and a half, 2 years to, uh, if I may put it, to be unemployed, to really sink yourself into IT with no background experience. I'm not talking about you graduated from high school, you go into college with, you come out with a degree, master degree, and I'm just talking about layman experience. How can you apply yourself? It takes that commitment, being in that involved in order to uh, get into IT. So it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's if you uh, if you're not sure your path and you don't want to apply yourself, then maybe this is not the path to take. But if you do want to apply yourself, there is programs like yours that will not ask the student of anything. The only thing you ask is just apply yourself, stay committed, complete the program, and you can reap the benefits of going through a program as yours.
Knowing that you read that, yeah, and I want to see that article if you have it, so you can send it to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
so I can look at it. Do you think that do you think we broke that puzzle box in that article as far as how we approach our training model?
For sure.
Do you think that, because you said a year and a half, 2 years unemployment to really wrap your head around, with us, thinking of us like a primer to really know where you want to get, do you think you can accelerate that, a bit more based on us?
Yeah, and that's what happened. Uh, your program gave me the opportunity uh, to step ahead and where I was at. And the reason I mentioned that, I know everybody's not in a position to be unemployed. I was fortunate to, still have money, but when I got into it, I didn't, you hear things, you'd be like, yeah, right. But now that I look back, it actually took that amount of time, and your program sped everything up uh, towards it. Is this what I want to do? And yes, it definitely enhanced, shortened the time, and enhanced my studies.
So, so obviously, we know that, again, you stopped at 80%, and it was because you end up landing a part-time IT role,
Right.
and and one of the core values of whole cyber is the human aspect, and we're like, the reason why our program is self-paced, and it's guided, but you got to do it on your own. Reach out to our community for help and stuff like that. Um, we put that in factor, right? Life happens, employment happens, unemployment happens. If you're a service member or a military spouse and there's a deployment involved, specifically, military spouse, you start a program and your spouse gets deployed Japan, and now you got a month of having to get acclimated, figure out, what you got to do for internet. Am I going to have a VPN that's going to work for me to do this US stuff? all that stuff, right? So yeah, I kind of pinged you, I poked you, I was like, hey man, you're at 80%. What gives? What was the stop? And then you told me, hey, I had a chance because it's been kind of fast paced, but I picked up an IT gig.
Right,
And then once I get once the dust settles and I get my feet in place, I want to go back.
right.
And one of the things that you mentioned even before this was um, it takes a special person, right?
Mhm.
And we talk about how a lot of the training within our organization is meant to be humbling. And then because you took that pause and you came back in, and it was more the realm that you really didn't have an interest in originally. Did you hit that humbling aspect of it?
Yeah, I hit that. Uh, and the reason that I stepped away, the only reason I stepped away was I thought I had an opportunity. It was part time. Uh, I kind of frowned on it. People say, hey, the help desk role uh, is sometimes the best way to get your foot in the door. And I felt if I was able to take that role uh, part time as I would continue my studies, uh, that would be a great incentive, a great step, and which I've made that move. I'm glad I've done that because, actually doing the job and with the education that I received from the program, whole cyber, it's it taught me that hey, it's not just doing a job; it's going beyond the job. What what do you bring to the table? What more? It's not about okay fixing this computer. It goes a lot more to that. It's like okay, you fix the computer. How can you prevent from that issue happening again? So that there really did bring home uh, the learning aspect of it.
Wow. And then, part of our program was, the capture the flag aspect. You had your capture the flags done fairly quick. And I was surprised too, because you chose some of the really harder ones like the US Cyber Quest.
Hmm.
US Cyber Quest, I think when you did yours, it was around March 2022. So that would have been the Department of Energy's one.
Okay.
Um, did that expose you to, because obviously there's no secret. We had the CIS as a part of, our course.
Right. Right.
The operational technology and the ICS.
Hmm.
So going into that specific realm of capture the flag, do you think that aspect kind of helps you say, you know what, I've taken a few classes on this, and I know the approach they're thinking about with this.
Yeah. You see, I ran home with it. Yeah. So I loved it. I love capturing the flag. It was a challenge, but that was something I love to do. So yeah, yeah, that was. I enjoyed that portion of the learning aspect, capturing the flag. Yeah, that's why I jumped on it, and you can see I took the advantage of that.
Yeah, the next one that so now that since you got your job, obviously we migrated from, let's see, when you joined us, I was originally on what, Google Forms. Then I got a little bit of money, got a little bit of help, got my Microsoft account, migrated over to Microsoft and moved it over to Microsoft Form. And that's when we, were reluctant to join forces with Vicious Vineyards in the Discord. Um, and then we moved into the online version of the program that you didn't have to really benefit from because really you already knew what modules you had left because that
Yeah,
was what was left on your screen.
right, right.
Um, the Discord, one of the things that we started adding as people started getting pretty progressed in part two was the capture the flag live teams.
Hmm.
One of the ones that I think, because you just like any other veteran, there is that it don't listeners, Stephen, don't take this as negative or any kind of negative connotation, but a veteran, somebody that got out of the military, even if it was 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, there's a little bit of hero complex that comes with coming from the active duty cloth. And based on that, we are defenders. We want to defend because it's what has been institutionalized in us the entire time we were enlisted.
Right.
And there's a capture the flag coming up from an organization that I absolutely 100% promote, love, and I've participated as both as the person trying to get the stuff and as a judge. And it's going to be Trace Labs, which is the OSINT for good, trying to get as much open source data to help police for missing persons and stuff. So as you're done with your graduation of whole cyber and you're on your next chapter for your 2-year plan of your 5-year and 7-year plan with the certification camp that you were reluctant to get, I'm going to ask you to come in and because you have had a couple CTFs under your belt now, I would like you to possibly lead a group of 4 or 5 for a Trace Lab CTF, just to say, hey, you know what, here's some kind of like some examples of tooling that I did for a few that I did, and it may or may not help, but who knows? Let's wrap our heads together.
Right.
But then also, when you first got to the Discord and we started building out the rooms and stuff like that, you were kind of like the cheerleader, and I loved it because we had a lot of people that were coming in that they're defeated. They maybe went through 80, 90 job rejections and stuff like that, or we had that one person that I can't remember their name, and I won't say their name either, but hit the roadblock with Security Plus a couple times. And you're like, no, man, look, this is the mentality. You gotta really take it in and let it soak.
Yeah.
Don't let it fester. Just let it soak.
Right.
And I love that you did that because it opened the eyes. And I often, I'll go back into the thread and say, hey, I want you to look at this, and let that sink in, right? Because you've already said it. You've already said it once. It's that character. It's that special mindset that is revolved around the IT and cyber domain that just not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
We like to say that anybody can get into cybersecurity, but let's be honest, anybody can, but is it something that really sits home with them as a human? And, if I find out, hey, because, between you and I and the listeners that are to watch this video, within 1 year, we had about 540 organic applications for our program.
Okay.
And of that, about 30%, they emailed the director's email address and said, you know what? I really didn't know that cybersecurity was this big. I didn't know that there was this much education involved.
Yeah.
This isn't for me.
Yeah. Well, it's easy. It's easy to pay your money and graduate and not really learning what you need to learn. And having that piece of paper saying you graduated, you got a certificate, you completed the boot camp. That's the easy part. But can you come over and really take advantage of learning, applying yourself, dedication? And I found myself plenty of nights not being able to get through this assignment. Coming back a couple more hours, still can't get it. Sleep on it, come back. Okay, I'm able to get through. That's not easy. That's determination, that's willpower, that's like, hey, I accomplished something, and let me move on. And that's what it takes. Everybody doesn't. It's nothing wrong if you don't have the mindset to do that, because hey, there's plenty of times I got aggravated, couldn't understand why I wasn't doing it. You come back and you find it's like putting pieces to the puzzle together. you
No,
got
and
you got a
I
thousand.
remember, I remember an instance too, and it's funny you mentioned that, right? Because we talked about the humbleness, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we talked about how, that specific attention to detail that you learn in the
right,
military, and
yeah,
especially as you're a musician, right? One note's in the wrong spot, it'll mess the entire
yeah,
flight of the bumblebee up.
yeah. People
You
look at you and say, "Hey, he's the one messed up." Yeah,
know, um,
yeah.
but I bring that up because it got to the point where you got to the Yara log portion, or no, it was the security onion,
Okay.
and you're like, man, I'm putting this in.
Yeah,
I've Googled it. I've done this. I've done that.
yeah,
I've asked other candidates. They've given me the same thing I'm putting in.
yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? I took a step back, and this little hyphen that
Mhm.
everybody kept pointing to was supposed to be a space.
Right.
That hyphen represented. I took that out, and sure enough, the bastard worked.
That's part of troubleshooting. You
Yep.
have to be good at troubleshooting. You have to be good at learning to fit stuff. And everybody's not geared towards doing stuff like that, and that's understandable. Everybody wasn't meant to do the same thing. That's what makes people. That's the makeup of who we are. But getting back to what you mentioned, I would be honored to come on board and help out in any way I can and give back, because I've your program has given so much to me that I have to give back. That's part of your mindset, my mindset of giving back, because I've learned so much. So yeah, I would be honored to help out in any way I could. And I think the experiences I have from the military, different aspects of the work aspect, you know, uh, I think what I could really bring home to uh, a new student, someone that's not familiar with IT, is what what it'd take. It'd take, you know, being up all night trying to figure stuff out, not getting enough sleep. That's what it takes. If your mindset is geared towards that, if you're geared towards troubleshooting, not giving up, paying attention in detail. Uh, if you have a question, bring your questions up, because it's been time where the labs wasn't correct. Not in your program, but certain labs that I would do for my school. Something just doesn't fit, but you will find a fix, even though all the instruction wasn't completely in there. When you do your run book, you make sure that you put that fits in, and so you update. It's always updating and keeping current the technology, because technology goes out to date. You know, every year there's a new computer. So, yeah, I
And
think,
looking back at the cyber aces portion, um, the introduction of VMs, the introduction to Linux VMs, Windows VMs, and stuff like that. Um, I think it was sometime around the middle of April, March timeframe. You were like, man, I need more space. Like, I don't have enough space for these VMs. What do I do? Because I mean, you started to learn. Say, hey, I could do this VM and set it up this way, and I can learn how to install this application on it, and then when I'm done with it, I just blow it up. My lesson's done. I learned off of it what I wanted to learn off of it. Did you ever find a solution to it? I mean, did you end up getting like a hard drive, or did you just delete them? Did you get a Google Drive?
Yeah, I kept them, and you know, you have to keep. That's part of your research, going back and seeing what worked, what didn't work, and you know, uh, but you can't discard any valuable information like that. So yeah,
So you're in your 2 year so we talked about the 2 year, 5 year, and 7 year plan, and obviously you're in your 2 year plan right now, about to finish up. What's next to start tackling that 5 year plan? Right. So you got your IT gig, you're getting your hands on, you're learning the grassroots foundations and fundamentals. What's your next push?
I think my next push is to dig deeper into learning. There's a lot. I just scratched the surface. Now I'm ready to get out there and as far as a 5 year plan, as you put it, it's to go deeper into, you could say, the blue team defender. I think I need to dive deeper into that, hands on. The IT job I was doing in part time, I'm ready to uh, come on board with a full time job. Now that I completed one of my programs, another program I complete, it'll be another 4 months. That's the cybersecurity portion. And, you have to be well rounded, so you can't, you can commit to, this and that, but you have to be open to all types of learning because you'll be well rounded. And that's what you want to be. That's what it takes for an IT person. You wonder why, an IT person works at a job for 4 or 5 months, 6 months, and move on where they have an opportunity to advance into another field of training. So, the 5 year plan is just a combination to keep learning. I don't see it ending anytime soon. So a 5 year plan really turns into a lifelong learning experience.
I
So
love that. I like that. Lifelong learning. That's exactly what we need, especially with the curiosity
yeah,
combined with it, because there's so much out there to learn. Um, but more focused, one of the roles that you had was threat and vulnerability management, which we talked about as being one of the traditional IT infosec type positions. Patch management, running the Nessus scans and stuff like that internally as an IT. Do you think that is your next path, or do you want to jump into straight into a SOC?
I think I would like to go into the security operation center. The reason I say that because everything is coming at you, and you have to learn to handle. You have to learn to acknowledge. You have to learn how to report. You have to learn how to stay on your feet and be on your P's and Q's. You can't be complacent. Uh, so I think that's the path I would like to take for now. Uh, yes, that's the path I would like to take. That comes back to defender. That's what I like to do. That's what I like to do, and then from there I would like to advance on. But there's so much I need to learn in the blue team aspect of being a defender.
So, as we wrap up your graduation, one of the things is we mentioned to all of our candidates that, once you graduate, we help you identify an individual development plan, right? Based on you and what your trajectory is. I've done 2 of these so far, right? I've done 2 outro interviews with candidates that graduated. And I asked them the same thing, if they were able to narrow down those 3 to 5 roles even further. You were the third one in a row that I said, yes, I've narrowed it down to 1. my focus is going to be the SOC.
Yeah.
And I love that, right? Because it does show that you have looked at, the multitudes of, how people write these job descriptions, maybe like we were talking about, right? So one company says they need a, it's a cybersecurity role and it's a security analyst. And you're like, well, I'm looking at this job description and that's
Yeah.
not a cyber role. That is that's a company IT role.
Yeah.
Cyber is about the clients, protecting the company's interests and the
Correct.
client's interest,
Yep.
not worried about this patch stuff, right? And I think it's getting better with job descriptions. Especially with people like Naomi Buckwalter, really meeting with a lot of hiring managers and breaking it down to them, saying, hey, this job description you wrote is really not that. Or when you look at this job description over here, and they want one person with all this, and you're like, that's more like 2 or 3 people. But the reason I bring that up is because, for graduates, we're given the option. You can choose a swag item from, the whole cyber shop, whether hoodie, polo, t-shirt, tumbler. Well, you can't see it because there it is.
Okay.
Tumbler, our coffee. We what is it? GRC Masterclass from Gerald Dozier.
Okay.
We have vouchers for those, and we have vouchers for the World of Haiku.
Okay.
Now, the World of Haiku, I'm not trying to assuage you or persuade you into any specific thing, but you're talking about more the hands-on, stuff that you'd like to learn.
Right.
The World of Haiku is a gamified learning experience, so it's made to be fun while getting your hands-on fluencies, especially on Linux.
Yeah.
So the floor is yours, to really decide. Do you want something from the store? Do you want a GRC course that's not really going to be made on SOC? Or would you like the Haiku? Or is there something else that you would like us to look into?
IQ.
Haiku?
Yeah, because it's good, the swag and coffee and the mug, but that doesn't replace that learning aspect of it.
Eric,
Never
I
stop learning.
guarantee when Eric Basu and his team hear this, their
Oh
grin's
yeah,
gonna be to their ears.
yeah. Yeah, I gotta pick that. That was a no-brainer. I mean, the swag is good. All that's good because whole cyber is on there. I'm gonna still get that on my own. I go on and purchase your stuff, because that's a part of me now, and it always will be. And it's funny that you mentioned how many people that comes on board and the mindset is okay. I do this, and it's going to be easy. Uh, I like to give them a reality check and say, hey, look, are you really in tune to this? I don't want to push them away. I just want to ensure that they know what they're getting into. So when they apply themselves, it's no doubts that, you know, I'm gonna turn around and run away, so to speak, because it takes a special person to do this. And if they have the will, the commitment to drive, then hey, look, this is a good thing to do, you know. So you know, that's what I think it comes down to is you know, people being honest with themselves. And IT is not for everybody. You know, uh, uh, I'm not a doctor. You know, I'm not. I'm not equipped. I'm not the smartest person, but I'm one that will have the drive, will not give up, love to troubleshoot, and home labs. I just bought another computer. This is me. This is what I want to do. I love it. I really do love it.
So I want to end it with 4 quick questions. First question, knowing that you're a people person, um, are you looking for on-site, remote, or hybrid?
I'm open, and the reason I say that, if I want to narrow down, remote will be first, high burn, and on site. Uh, but times change. You look at traveling to your job, traveling home, and traffic, and you might lose 2, 3 hours in that commute back and forth. But if it's within distance, then I'm open to on site. You know, uh, I don't you know, but you have to look at that time that you save, what you can do in that time. So it's weird how the world is evolving around, being just as efficient, being at home and working. And, that brings a lot of advantages to doing that.
And looking back, if you can go back and tell yourself one or two things for advice, well, when you first had that inclination that you wanted to be in tech, what would you tell yourself?
That is going to take real commitment, uh, determination, and time. If you don't want to apply yourself, then it's not going to work. So, you know, these people ahead of me, more experience, they went through the same thing I did. Or I'm going through the same thing they going through. Uh, it's not easy. Nothing worth it's you have to work for what you want, and you have to be committed to that. And that's how you become successful.
Next question is, for those that are listening to this recording, that it's their first time thinking that they want to get into tech or they want to find somewhere to start learning to grow, where would you send them as far as, hey, this is where I would start for foundations to understand what you're getting yourself into?
Whole
It doesn't have
solid.
to be us. Oh,
No, I have to come back. I have to come back home, uh, because uh, it gives you a choice. It helps you decide uh, to pinpoint what area, IT or cybersecurity or what have you, or SOC analyst. It helps you decide what area that that you would love to do, you would love to work in. Uh, the way you have it set up, uh, to for as decision making, narrow it down. When I first got that, I was like, "How am I gonna figure this out?" Somehow, I was able to with the questions that you presented to me, the format that you had. Uh, it was it just came out of nowhere. This is it. Pinpoint it. I was able to pinpoint it. But this program here, hands down. There's other programs, I'm pretty sure, that are uh, great, but this is the one I ran into. So I would definitely point them in this direction first.
that's much appreciated. And then the last question is, now that you graduated from whole cyber and we're talking about your individual development plan, what can we do for you?
Keep doing what you're doing, putting out training, giving new students an opportunity to learn. Uh, it's a great give and take. Uh, it's a great give and take. So just keep doing what you're doing, and reaching out to people, and I think you're doing the officers that you have on board, the volunteers that you have on board. Uh, the word is getting out there, and Paul, I can't thank you enough with your background and experience, and the way you giving back is just unparalleled. Everybody has things to do, but you have shown such a willingness to give back, and I think that just comes from what you receive. So I want to thank you personally for doing what you're doing and keep doing what you're doing.
It's an absolute pleasure. I love giving back. I often joke that, when I talk to different employers and different companies that, when you make E5 in any branch, you become a workforce development subject matter expert.
Right.
And a part of that is because we know Uncle Sam isn't going to pay for every single thing. So I look back at, I made E5 back in 2004.
Hmm.
And from then on, it was, trying to develop people. We had back then in the Navy, we had, the striking where people could go cross rate. And they'd always give me the aviator coming from fuels and working on the flight deck that wanted to be in IT. And I've always helped develop them. And, it just kept further and further and further. And so it's kind of, if I had, if it could pay well and if it was like the perfect developmental type role, I would love to do this, as my profession.
Hmm.
You know, I I I often wonder, if I can get some grant funding with Whole Cyber Human Initiative, would I do it full time and not worry about employment from anywhere else? And
Yeah.
I keep going back to yes, because each person, no matter if they're veteran, no matter if they're first responder, no matter if they're someone coming out of high school, going into our program, coming from college into our program, each person has different stressors and each person copes with stress a different way. Um, I'm very vocal with the stresses that I have in my life, and whole cyber is what really keeps me at ground level.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I put pride and passion into what I do. And it's humbling when I hear someone like you, say, "Hey, the way you deliver it is it's personable.
Yeah.
It's not, I got on a call with a mentor, and the first thing they said was, "Hey, have you checked this boot camp out?" Because the first thing that we talked about, because you joined us on one of our veterans breaking into IT cybersecurity events back when I was, running that YouTube thing uh, before we even created whole cyber. And you heard it firsthand from different mentors that the roles are just so vast that you can't just have one, because you might get a mentor that is maybe a pen tester. Well, they know the resources and they know how to guide you to be a pen tester. But when you start talking about the different other roles within IT and cyber, that might be the only thing they can call back to, because that's the only thing they know. They haven't expanded upon it.
Right. Right.
Um, but that's my personal flair. I love giving back. I'm glad that you're willing to give back to the new candidates that we have coming in. One of the things that I'm working on, yes, that it is a free program for individuals, but as we start 2023, doing some rebranding to target more veteran specific and first responder specific, hoping that we can get some grant funding coming in. I'm looking to hopefully work with some veteran, organizations, veteran-owned businesses, and set up, a cohort style.
Yeah.
And with that, yeah, it will be paid, because they're going to get a little bit more of my time than that. It's going to take me away from my regular employment if I get a job ever again.
Hey,
I
hey,
mean, I have
Paul.
people on my LinkedIn knocking on me right now, so
Yeah.
um,
Hey,
it's going to
hey,
happen.
yeah.
But
Paul, if you asked me, what can you do? Uh, you asked me, to, I would think, you know, keep hitting those managers. and getting them to change that job description. Because what I find is very frustrating to us job seekers is you are asking for this according to the job description. And when we apply for that job and we interview for the job, and then you tell us, you're not looking for what we have on that resume, that's frustrating because that's what you have on your job description. But yet, you say, thank you, but no thank you. We moving on with another candidate. So we're left, well, what you asked for is what I have on my paper. That's the experience that I bring to the table. But so what are you asking for? So with you, hitting those managers up to correct the job description, ask for what you want, you know, and hire for what you want according to your job description. I think if you know, you keep doing that, or you you find a way of letting them know how they should write their job description up, I think would help a lot.
I wrote that down and put a couple asterisks next to it.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that we're trying to do. We're hoping to host a leadership workshop / summit. On the 27th, we're attempting our first shot at hosting our own virtual conference. We want to start being one of those pivotal players in the industry, right? Other than just the word of mouth that people are seeing, we want to open it up to more, to where we start getting some leaders involved that otherwise wouldn't know we exist. Because we're small fish in a big sea when it comes to the amount of organizations doing this type of stuff. But some things that I took note of as we wrap up is our program's unlike any other that you've seen, and it's based on the fact that, one, we're not charging. Two, that what we are asking as far as payment is to put that time and effort into it. Three, we're giving people a place to go where they can explore those roles and really look at them with a fine tooth and comb to understand where they want to be in this world that we call cyber or IT. These are all very powerful points that I think, when the directors and the advisors see this, it'll give us more traction when we start to plan out our next approach for these hiring managers. Mm-hmm. It's no secret that I'm the chief services officer for Boost to Cyber. We just came out right after New Year's and said, hey, we're here, and it is going to be based on veteran employment. And a part of that is going to be going through, with their skill bridge that we're setting up with Boost to Cyber. It's going to offer whole cyber training for veterans and military spouses on that aspect. But for the non-technical folks that are coming into the industry that they are trying to use Boost to Cyber, it's going to be one of those required mechanisms to say, hey, before you tackle this beast, come get your time in. So that's awesome. I love that. I love that, the way my mind works and how I can translate, different jobs into tech. I'm glad that it really helps you, identify, hey, as a musician, I absolutely do have transferable skills.
Oh yeah.
I'm straight into it. I love that, you pointed out, hey, as a veteran, you're a defender at heart. And, that's where you wanted to start off with, is in the cyber defense side. So you chose the world of haiku. You're going to be hopping in the Discord here soon to start being cheerleader again. That's awesome. And then you're looks like you accepted the challenge of when I reach out to you to be a capture the flag coach. You're open to do that.
Definitely.
So I'm going to wrap it up. And I thank you for your time. And I thank you for putting your trust into me as your mentor initially, and more humbled and more appreciative that you took a shot at our program, and you found the value that you did. Um, I wish more people outside of the lens would see it this way, other than our candidates. But it's one small step in the right direction. I think. I think the Berlin Wall. When we look at this talent shortage, there's no way to do like the Berlin Wall and take it all down at once.
No.
And I think the different bricks that we're taking out is just going to make that whole talent shortage verbiage collapse. Just, taking those pieces of that foundation that are holding it up actually.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you, the growth that you have as you continue. Before we sign off, I'd like to say my name is Paul Cummings, CEO and founder of Whole Cyber Human Initiative. I'm with Stephen Dillard, veteran, prior military band, got his first IT gig, looking for a SOC analyst role. What are your top 5 dream companies that you would love to work for?
That's a good question. Good question. Top dream companies. You got me on that. Normally, I'm not speechless. I don't want to commit myself because every company I think has great potential. There's not always those big names that will do the job. Some of those smaller names. Because if you look at the what's going on now, a lot of those big names are laying people off. So, and everybody's cutting down, but I'm open. I'm open to any company that will have me, that will I can utilize the skills that I've learned from school, from whole cyber. So I don't want to even give any names out because that'll cut me off, and I don't want to do that. I'm open. I'm open to anyone that have me with the knowledge I bring, the teamwork that I can apply. I think I'll be a good fit.